This is the Night Shift Podcast, powered by Black Gold Banneret, your home for news and analysis from all UCF night sports. The Night Shift starts now.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. This is, of course, the Night Shift Live here, your post-game show fresh after UCF's victory at homecoming over the Mountaineers of West Virginia, 45-13, your final score. Of course, Kyle Nash is doing the game here with me. Donnie Doc Strouble. We might get Eric Lopez here in a minute. But listen, a quality effort all the way around. I think the least to be said, perhaps expected to some extent, but I know earlier throughout the week, whether it's talking to Eric Lopez or even shouts to Mark Moses of the Mark Moses Show as well, who said that this game was a must-win. Don, they stepped up and took care of business in mighty fashion, to say the least.
Yes, they did. Yeah, it was a full team complimentary effort, as DB Kelly Lawson called it. They were just clicking on all cylinders. They were finding the gaps in the run game. They were able to make plays downfield, something that they've struggled to do recently, especially against conference play. But something clicked today, and they were able to take advantage. And as always, the defense. We've seen strong performances from them this year, and I kind of figured that they would take advantage of a West Virginia team that is riddled with injuries and averaging just a little over 22 points a game towards the bottom of the conference, and they did just that.
Yeah, and Fox is their starting quarterback as the third stringer. It was the first time in decades that West Virginia had even started a freshman in that particular instance. But I know, obviously, going into this game, I had mentioned it on the pregame, leading into the contest here, so to speak, that Cam Fancher would be out, all of that, Taven Jackson starting, being the smart money. It felt like they went to the air a lot more this game. It didn't just feel like it, kind of a thing that happened, quite literally. UCF throwing the ball 40 times in this game, but in this instance, I don't feel like Night Nation's complaining about it there, Doc.
No. I don't think so either. Yeah, I think that was it was the kind of boost that this offense needed, and Coach Frost said as much in the postgame. They needed to find some of those splash plays. It was something he was emphasizing throughout the week. It wasn't just a game day plan. This is something that they had been talking about, and again, the execution was there. We talk about consecutive fourth downs turning into touchdowns and things of that nature, and so you end up in this situation where you're getting that kind of quarterback and receiver play, especially on the perimeter. Good things are going to happen for this team.
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump into the comments here going off. Garrett Weiss jumping in here. The best game overall, phenomenal coverage by TNT, pregame, during, and postgame. I heard a lot of good things about the coverage. When I'm here in the press box, I don't get to experience quite as much of it. But I did see kind of the replays, and to be honest, I kind of felt like it was better from that standpoint. I'll leave it there too. And I think this is the point and the thing all UCF fans were looking for. Garrett Weiss, again, hopefully we're turning the corner and have a chance to get healthy. Taven Jackson, we just came out of the press room with Taven Jackson, who was asked, how big this bye week was. And he's like, yes, it's very big, the relief on his face. And it's not just for him personally who's dealt with shoulder stuff. Obviously, it's also, Cam with the ribs, all the guys, all the injuries that got banked up. Eric Edwards saw my brief guest star there handing me my glasses case. Eric Lopez, was behind me there. He should be jumping in with us soon, hopefully. But yeah, I'll add this too. The defense was defending. I found it interesting to open the game that there was a face guard for a DPI. And then immediately after that, it was essentially a 3-and-out. I think that was kind of a remark for the defense. Were they absolutely 100% perfect? No. 97%? I think so.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you can't nitpick too hard when they get a strip sack, fumble for a touchdown, and all the other plays that they made during the sequences of this game. And yeah, they really just they executed on each level. how they had to. And this is the kind of win that can spark plug you going into a bye week. Now they get some rest. They get some time to prepare for a tougher Baylor opponent. But this is the kind of thing that can turn a tide for a team. This is the kind of win that you need. And now that they're on the board in conference play, Nash, I mean, we'll see what can happen here.
Yeah, Brock Consul and Davy Belfort both seeing time in cleanup play. Also another good sign all the way around. And again, a pair of big runs from Miles Montgomery and Jaden Nixon. I mean, an 83-yarder to the hizzy. You know, that's just, again, going back to big plays that UCF made throughout the day. That was fantastic. But Docs, the one the play I want to particularly break down, my favorite one of the day was, I mean, I know everybody's going to talk about Burke with the Odell Beckham Jr. style single-handed grab to come down with that. Listen, that's always fun to watch. It'll definitely be a Sports Center top 10. But for me, the first touchdown on fourth down by Taven Jackson, where he first found Chris in the end zone, just the way he was able to kind of delay or poise. I know before he was talking about hitting Duracant, like in the post-game press conference, he had wondered, should I run it in? I thought he was about to run it in. And I think, what was it? Somebody came crashing down in response to him. Duracant came open, bam, touchdown UCF. I think that poise shows a growth in Taven Jackson that's taken place even in just these past 3-4 weeks. What would you say about Taven's play today overall? I mean, I know it's against an easier opponent and all that, but I certainly felt confident in it myself. And again, proving my theory.
Sure. I mean, well, if we're going to look at that play myopically, Taven made a great call to audible at the line of scrimmage. They rotated their receivers over. They had 3 lined up on the left side, and that gave him, he said in the postgame press conference, 2 options. He actually had Wade and Charles open as well as Chris. When the pocket broke down on a 4th and 4 or 5 or whatever it was, he didn't panic. He used his feet to give himself enough room to move closer to that left side where his receivers were going down the seam and find his open man. And that's a really mature play that you expect to have from your starting quarterback. And that's what he delivered. And overall, I mean, through the air today, this was their most effective day. And this is a guy who's still banged up. I'm sure the shoulder's not 100%, but he wanted to be out there and he delivered a big performance when it was needed.
277 yards himself. UCF goes over the 300 mark for the first time in a long time. I'm fairly certain that's not something we've seen in the Malzahn era, let alone just the final year, as somebody who's appreciated his ground game such that it was. But seeing that, I mean, this is the most, in my view, having started covering Knights football in 2017 myself, this is the closest game this year we've seen to a Scott Frost game, in my opinion. And what I think, it's funny, Docs, too, he was asked about the quickness of some of the scores and how it felt for him to get closer to Frost's tempo, so to speak. The fact that those signals are coming maybe that late, I think it was said earlier, turning the corner. We're seeing proof of that in this game. This is an easier, again, I'm going to air quote, easier opponent than most per se. Who knows? It might end up the easiest game on the schedule. The Oklahoma State game might be an argument this time in November. We don't know yet. But to be an improved team, and I think you and I talked about this during the game, Docs, to be an improved team, you have to win the games that you're supposed to first. That happened today. I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the thing. You take advantage of these moments. And I don't want to go as far as to say that this is a tune-up game because it's not. You're in conference play now. I mean, while West Virginia has dealt with their fair share of adversity in terms of health and other things, they did make this interesting for a while, Nash. I mean, after those 2 big 4th down conversion TDs, I mean, the UCF offense stalled. And then West Virginia goes and they have their own scoring drive for a touchdown. And, you know, before you know it, it's a one-score game. You know, you just got to get in the end zone and we got a tie ball game. And we've seen this similar instance with Kansas where UCF's offense got out in front. They were able to go up multiple scores and then they squandered it. And it looked like there was a possibility that would happen again today, but then they came out in the second half and they took care of business. And that, again, shows growth collectively within this team to get the job done and not lose your willingness to stay aggressive and stay confident when, it was a 4th and 1 in the red zone and they couldn't punch it in. That could maybe shake a team mentally, but it didn't happen with this crew.
I'll put it this way. I think that was more about trust for the defense, because this defense has earned it. I'm going to start there. We're talking about analytics and things like that. I get the joy and comfortable position of 2020 hindsight. I understand that part of it too as well. But where I kind of land the plane on that is, and I think I said this to you and Lopez as you both began to, I say jokingly, panic. The reminder was that it is in fact a 4-quarter game. And I think this says more about the confidence of the defense from the coaching staff, I should say.
Yeah.
Rather than, the offense did stall, but you mentioned a 4th down in the red zone. The argument could be made is if they take the points, it looks a little bit less scary, because then they're up by the 3 scores, because you can't get more than 8 points, So I think there's an element of that too that kind of disguises that. But yeah, Coach Frost has even alluded to it. Here's the part where you're absolutely right. I can argue with you about how afraid you should be at a point in the game or not. That short yardage scenario, I kind of feel like they're just dancing around it rather than trying to create a position to attack. And you got to be able to get that short yardage. I think that's a legitimate complaint for sure in particular. Now, again, if they go for points, are we talking about it as laterally? Probably not, but it's still something. Even Scott Frost after the game said needed to be addressed. I think that's a fair comparison, to say the least. But I'll say this. I know we kind of look to the future while talking about, elements of these games and things like that and the impact. I think the bye week's big. I think healing up is big for this team as well. I'm not confident that they beat Baylor. However, I do feel like the space game is going to be kind of a turning point. I'm not going to go full must win. Maybe Eric Lopez, if he were here, would. I don't know. But it's a scenario where that space game just became really huge. And it could be, if this is the first building block in finishing out a bowl-eligible season, I think Houston's the next step.
Yeah, I agree with that. We circled some games on the schedule that we gave predictions as to, these are the ones that are going to be really hard. These are the toss-ups, and these are your must-wins. And I feel like Houston, the way they've been playing, they might have gone as a preseason. Okay, we're feeling confident about that. But now it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, this is a team that's playing solid football. They are already, I believe Eric Lopez said while we were watching this game that they are bowl eligible at this point. So like they're a good football team, and they're not going to go down easy. So, it's crazy to think that we're going to be going into week 8 here. Like the opportunities are dwindling, and you need 2 more to get to that bowl eligibility marker, bare minimum. And so, that Baylor's going to be a tough test. That there's games on this schedule left that it's going to be really hard. Nothing's impossible, but really difficult. So you got to take advantage of those ones, like a space game, like an Oklahoma State. And again, meet the expectations like they did today against West Virginia.
Look at the NBA guy going with the Kevin Garnett quote, anything is possible. You're certainly correct about that in particular. I will add this element to it as well. I know we're talking about the coming games. I said it earlier. The winnables remaining, although Houston's looking scarier than I would have thought in the preseason. What I had on my card is Houston and OK State being the final 2 wins to assure bowl eligibility. Of course, I'm assuming a loss in Provo to close the season, because Provo is just a tough place to play. We'll start with that. But, going back to this game too, one element I wanted to bring up is there's been some questions about the receiver core on the whole. I'll say this. You don't finish a game with 12 receivers and not have receiver talent on your 12 receivers, 11 receivers with a catch, and not have, at least some talent in there that's good enough to get open. And granted, I know at the end of the day that DJ Black finished with negative yardage because, screens are a thing. I get that. But, it days in to have – as many big plays as you do, right? We mentioned Dumercamp with the touchdown. on the fourth down. I think he had both of them over 30 yards. Does that mean all three of his catches?
He did.
Or not three. He has 5 catches, but he had 3 catches, I believe, over 20 yards. Dwayne Thomas had a big grab on the day. It's a whole modicum of talent. The aggregate, right? You hear me talk about the aggregate all the time.
Aggregate, yes.
I don't think the receiver core is the issue. I don't think today quarterback play was the issue. As much as Jeff Sharon hates this offensive line, they more than did their job. I think this is all a scenario where the UCF offense did every part of UCF did what it was they were supposed to do. I'm a little nervous about the kicks out of bounds, perhaps, but I'm sure Noah will get that right as the season goes on.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they accomplished their goals and they played a really strong game on 2 out of the 3 phases. I mean, special teams could use some work, but I trust that Coach Alomar will get them right, especially with the bye week. This is a treasure trove of options and receivers that you can throw to. I mean, this isn't even the first time this has happened. I mean, they spread the ball out to 9 guys a couple weeks ago. I don't remember if it was against Kansas in the loss or which game that was, but they're spreading the ball out. It's not just Kobe Hudson from last year and then cross your fingers. Like, there are several guys that can make plays on this team, from the young guys to some of the more veteran players. And, it's encouraging to see because, as I've said before, you don't want to be one-dimensional in your approach here. And knowing that they have a chance to spread the ball out and, from what we saw today, go over the top, it's definitely an encouraging sign, especially for Coach Frost and Coach Cooper, I'm sure.
Digging back into the comments here, Garrett Weiss comes in. This game under Gus, we lose in the second half. Hey, be careful. That's the potential interim head coach of FSU you're talking about there. I don't know if that's true, but it's an interesting point to bring up. Fries jumps in. Glad we won this one. Going to carry a lot of momentum into the bye week. Sure. And that's the point I think Docs and I were making earlier about finding bowl eligibility. I'll ask the question. I know I've made my opinion of it. Docs, I don't think we have the opportunity to ask you this yet, or that Eric has either, so I could feel special that I got in front of him on this one. But is bowl eligibility a success for Scott Frost in year 1 of his 2.0 campaign?
Oh, 100%. I mean, especially when you look at his situation. I mean, has to bring in a brand new staff. He gets hired in December post initial signing period, I believe. And so you come in, you got what, 60 plus, damn near 70 transfers. I mean, this is really a reconstruction project at its finest. And this is one of those things where he said in his introductory presser, don't expect undefeated. That's not what's going to happen. Like, this is a work in progress. But if you can go from 4-8, I mean, Kyle, this was the first conference win in almost a year. They haven't won a game in the Big 12 since the Space game last year in the beginning of November. And so it's like, they lost out to finish the season, and they start 0-3 here. You finally get another one, and you're just 2 away. And so, yeah, I mean, that is a good indicator and a good step in the right direction, especially when you think of where some of the national predictions and categorizations had this team placed. I mean, so that would be a success for Frost. Too many words there. It's been a long day, but a good day.
That's too many syllables. There's plenty of words. No. And for sure, it's nice to see that UCF as a team did not have a long game today here too. 45-13. Obviously, we'll see some of your fine camera work here very, very soon on the Night Shift YouTube channel. So looking forward to that taking place as well. It's not working, so I'm just there's the bell. Okay, see, this is why I go bing. Sometimes it's and I think at the end of the day, right. But I think at the end of the day, getting all that to land the plane, I think is definitely beyond a positive first step to finishing strong. So, Docs, you're going to have your stuff up there soon on the Night Shift YouTube channel. I will finish making the grade very shortly myself, blackandgoldbanneret.com. And then that should be a good time. So with all that in mind, make sure you check out all the work we're doing for the Black and Gold Banneret. That's UCF Banneret, or excuse me, at Banneret at Banneret _ UCF. There we go. Finally got it right. KnightShift YouTube channel, all of that stuff, of course. Find my dude, Don Strouble, Donnie Docs at Don Documents 407. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game at the SOTG. Make sure you check out Eric Lopez as well, at Eric Lopez Elo on all the socials, all the same. So with that in mind, thanks again for those who jumped in the comments. Appreciate your contribution as always. Fun show. More fun when you guys are here. For Donnie Docs, it's Kyle Nash, student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed, and go Knights. Charge on.